Hi everyone. Well, today's video I have a guest on my channel. This is my daughter Eden, and she's going to be helping me with this. We are going to be making some DIY homemade rice packs or rice bags, and we're using a combination of rice and flax. We made one here. It was the first one, so we decided that we do want to put a little bit more of the fill in there, and so we did 3 sections on it, and I've made these before years ago, so I was kind of going off my memory, but I also looked online to see how some other people have made them. Trial and error, we came up with a system that we like. So we mixed rice and flaxseed into a mixing bowl here, and then we added our essential oils, and we've got 3 different types of fabric, and we're using flannel, and then we've got mat with the rotary, which makes just cutting the fabric way easier. So we'll bring the camera in and show you all of the supplies and then get started. For our filling, we used a mixture of equal parts rice and golden flaxseed. We added eucalyptus and lavender essential oils to the filling. And then we found some flannel fabric at Joann's, and we chose 3 different prints. You can use any kind of rice or flaxseed. In fact, you can use all rice if you don't want to buy any flaxseed, and you can get it from the dollar store or go to your grocery store and just get the store brand and use that. We are beginner sewers, and so this is definitely a beginner's sewing project, but you do need a sewing machine obviously for it.
Okay, so this is our example that we made, and we realized that there's not enough rice and flax in here, so we're gonna add a half a cup to each section. But basically it's super simple, straight lines. It's just 3 different sections of rice, and we'll show you how we do all of it with the sewing.
Using a large mixing bowl, we added about 4 or 5 cups of the white rice, and then we added the equal parts of the golden flaxseed. And then to the rice and flax mixture, we added our essential oils. We did about 8 drops per oil to the bowl. And then you just stir it all up until it's well mixed. We are making several of these, and so what I'm doing here is just trimming the fabric so that it is 15 inches wide, because that will be the length of our packs. I will put a link in the description box below for some of the supplies that I used. Once I had the fabric measured out to 15 inches in length, then I cut each fabric strip at 8 inches wide. So we're doing 15 inches long by 8 inches wide, giving ourselves a 1/2 inch to a 1 inch seam. We haven't sewn in quite a while, so I wanted to make sure that we had enough just in case. At the start of each stitch, we double back to reinforce the seam, and then on the turns, we also should have double back to reinforce the corners, but we didn't do that here. But I would highly recommend, if you're going to do this project, that you double back at your corners too, just to reinforce them. For those of you who are advanced sewers, any tips or comments are so appreciated, because we are certainly not advanced. So how Eden did it here is she started at a short end about 2 inches from the corner and sewed all around the sides until she came back up to the short end where she started, and then leaving about a 2.5 inch gap open to add the filling. Once you have your side sewn, then trim away the extra thread and turn it right side out. To poke out the corners, you can use your fingernails, or you can use a point turner or whatever you might have, just so you can get that sharp corner. Now that all the corners are poked out, you can see that there's that gap that we left at the top, about 3 inches, and it's ready to start adding the filling. December started out very dry. We didn't have a whole lot of snow, but towards Christmas, we certainly started to get the snow, and it seems like every other day we have gotten a little bit more. Now, the first time that we sewed a couple of these rice packs, we added the filling and then pinned 4 inches up, and then Eden sewed along her pins. This proved to be very challenging because the rice was getting in the way, obviously. This reminded me of how I sometimes try so hard to hear from the Lord, and yet I may not be leaving that opening for Him. I may be shutting Him out because I have so many other things that are distracting me. I've learned that there are things that I just need to let go of. There are things that I need to get out of the way, clear some space, and just make that time so that I can hear clearly from the Lord. Letting go of things can sometimes be so hard, but once I've let go of something, it can feel so freeing at the same time. I know that whatever the Lord is asking me to let go of, there is something so much better ahead. Filling each section and then sewing it shut and then moving on to the next section to fill that and sew it shut worked okay. But it was definitely challenging to sew with the rice right next to the needle. Once the last section was filled, then we just folded in that opening and then sewed that shut.
This is like kind of a hard project, but you can watch me.
I want you to do the widest part.
Oh no, I don't think it's sewing anymore. Look at all that. That's okay. It'll be fine. That's perfect. Way more full and substantial.
Decided to try sewing the sections a little bit differently, and so what I'm doing here is just pinning off 4-inch section and then leaving about a 2-inch gap so that we can fill this section after we have sewn most of it shut. We used the pins to measure 4 inches, and that was sort of a guide so that we would have a line so that our sections were about 4 inches apart. This time we sewed the first section about 2 inches from the end, so there was a 2-inch opening on the first section. Then we filled that first section using a little funnel, and we found that about 1.5 cups of the filling was perfect for each section. So we used about 4.5 cups of filling per pack. So once the first section was filled with about 1.5 cups, then she sewed that 2-inch gap shut. Next, I pinned 4 inches for another line for the next section. And then we sewed that line, leaving that 2-inch opening. Next, we added the filling to that second section. And then sewing that section shut, we went on to the final section, filled that, and then sewed it shut. It took a little bit more prep to pin each section, but we found this way worked much better. We did this same method with each of the fabrics that we used, and they all turned out pretty nice. So if you have ever made these, I would love to hear, how did you do it? Did you do it differently or the same? And what did you use for filling? So to heat these, you just want to do it in about 30-second intervals because you don't want to scorch the filling or the fabric. Also make a slip cover for your packs if you wanted to, that way you could wash the slip cover. I use mine just about every night in the winter. They are so comforting, and I love how they have a little bit of a weight to it. I think the rice adds a little bit more weight than just the flaxseed, and they're just almost like a heavy blanket or a weighted blanket. They are so cozy to have, and they feel so good on your stomach or your shoulders or even just your feet, wherever you need to warm up. Thank you so much for watching, and I pray God's blessings over each one of you.